Our next presenter this evening is not talking about the city of Providence, but he is talking about another city that borders Providence. Thomas Mann is the executive director of the Pawtucket Foundation, a local nonprofit that represents the businesses and the not-for-profit sector as an advocate and a catalyst for downtown riverfront and transportation gateway enhancement within the city of Pawtucket. Thomas is trained in architecture and urban planning and is a former Air Force civil engineer officer. And here's Thomas Mann.
Well, the state of Rhode Island is also being a jerk to Pawtucket because they're having some shortfalls. This is a historic postcard that I came across. Everyone's doing it in Pawtucket, which I thought would be a good introduction slide to my little talk on the city of Pawtucket, because it is a very historic city, and I'm always fascinated with these old postcards. But the river is really what gave Pawtucket its claim to fame. It was the mighty, powerful Blackstone River. And that's where Slater Mill was built and was the first hydroelectric power that started the whole industrial revolution. And this is a vista. There's the Slater Mill right at the historic falls in downtown Pawtucket. And the little tent there is the Pawtucket Arts Festival, where people gather every year to celebrate the arts in Pawtucket. Over the years, though, unfortunately, the manufacturing started to go away, and it really hurt Pawtucket. It left Pawtucket with a whole bunch of these empty mill buildings. And then suburbanization, and we had our share of surface parking lots, just like Providence, that came in and destroyed the city and created all this land that's not generating tax revenue. But these mills were left all around, and we needed something to do with them. So in Pawtucket, they were lucky that a lot of artists were looking for spaces, and this was one of the first mill redevelopment projects, Riverfront Lofts, that was built. But when this property was redeveloped, it actually had a 2,000% increase in new tax revenue, and that really helped the downtown. This is a view from Riverfront Lofts, looking at the downtown, looking at the historic City Hall that we just learned now has a leaking tower, and it's leaking pretty profusely, and it's going to be really expensive to fix that. So I think the mayor's now thinking about putting it up for sale. But there still is manufacturing in Pawtucket. This is actually a modern-day facility in one of these old historic mills, Northeast Knitting, where they make knitted fabrics for the military, safety vests, all those harnesses that you see. And what's great is that 98% of the workers who work there walk to work, because Pawtucket's a densely populated area. But people love their cars, and this was a car I saw on Main Street in downtown Pawtucket. I mean, you'll find everything on Main Street. The freaks come out at night, too, at 10 o'clock and beyond. People love their cars. They love them so much that we have to create all this parking, surface lots. And then Pawtucket had to create a bunch of one-way streets to make it difficult so that you could spend more time in your car being lost in the city. But fortunately, over the last year, they've come up with a plan to get rid of all these one-way streets. And they've programmed $18 million worth of infrastructure projects to transform the downtown, to make it more walkable and to make it more pedestrian-friendly. And this is an example of one of the festivals, Rock-Tucket, that happens during the Arts Festival right on Main Street, where they bring out the food trucks and the rock bands, and they come out and really light up the city. And it's great to see people, especially at night, join the city, because the city has a lot of great architecture. This is the Pawtucket Library, which is a great example of some of the classic architecture that you'll find. Most people who go to Pawtucket for the first time think it's really a charming city. Almost like a medieval village, because it's so small. When the patterns were built before cars. We have great attractions like the Pawtucket Red Sox, and most people probably know this, but Pawtucket Red Sox claim to fame is that it's where the longest game in baseball history was played at this stadium, McCoy Stadium. I learned that this stadium was actually built in a swamp. They had to fill it in. But Pawtucket's a cultural place, too. It's a melting pot of ethnicities. We still have, it happens today, the Chinese dragon boat races on the river. And this is a regional draw that brings hundreds of people from all over New England to compete and row these Chinese dragon boats. We have lots of artists. It's no secret that a lot of artists went to Pawtucket for the cheap mill space. And plus we have this great world-class artist. This is Gretchen Dow Simpson, who was a cover artist for the New Yorker magazine and has a studio in Pawtucket and is very involved in the Arts Festival and the Pawtucket Arts Collaborative. This is another graphic designer, arts-related businesses, and this is in a historic old mill in Riverfront Lofts in the basement, in the boiler room. So they're making these ultra-modern boutique spaces in these old buildings. It's arts-related businesses, and it's a big revenue generator. We do have some starving artists too, but we have some who are making some money. And then the Apex building. I mean, when this was built, this was the marvels of architecture, modern architecture. But I view it as a big box, a stupid big box in a downtown with a big giant parking lot. Not too appropriate, but it is what it is. But it is an important landmark. Now we have $125 million in transportation infrastructure projects happening, in the Pawtucket River Bridge with its LED lights and handsome arches. It's really going to transform the skyline when you look at the downtown and look at the river, which was so important in the creation of the city of Pawtucket, and now we're turning to it. We have a hospital that's doing world-class research. You'd be surprised, though. They just built a brand new state-of-the-art cardiac catheterization laboratory. They have a partnership with Brigham and Young Hospital out of Boston, doing world-class research. And most people don't know that about Pawtucket. Some friends of mine just had their baby there. And I talked about the culture. We just planted, close to 200 cherry trees on Roosevelt Avenue in downtown, and just last week the Consul General from Japan was in town, is going to help us with our annual Cherry Blossom Festival, and they're going to donate a grove of trees in honor of the 100th year of the gift of the trees in Washington, D.C. And then to end this is back to Slater Mill. This is a brand new weaving installation. I'm told it's one of the first art installations to be installed over a river by Don Girola. It's called Weaving the Blackstone. It's a play on the old textile mills, but has a pretty neat effect at night. So that's Pawtucket.
I don't know about you, but I want to get a dragon boat team together. Yeah. Who's in? Come on. We could do that.